Greg Wrubell, who hosted that Kalani Sitake show last night. And certainly the number 15 college football playoff ranking discussion came up. Kalani downplayed it, Greg, but we're not here to downplay on BYU Sports Nation. Let's enjoy this. What'd you think about the number 15 spot for BYU?
Yeah, let's blue goggle this. It's awesome to be part of the national conversation, right, for consecutive years. And last year, BYU was in every CFP ranking in the COVID season. There were only 5 releases last year, but they were in all 5. They were in the teens every week. Even after the loss to Coastal, they hung around, right? So they were part of the mix. And then it comes out this year, and you're 15th. And I'm sure a lot of people thought, wow, that's a lot of respect from the committee for BYU. And it's clearly, entirely schedule related, right? We saw last year an undefeated BYU team was just 1 spot higher at 14 when they debuted. This year, you can be a 2-loss BYU team, and you're almost in exactly the same spot. And as some national people have noted today, there's a clear message the committee continues to send. You've got to play a lot of P5 teams, and you got to beat a lot of P5 teams if you want to get respect from the committee. So Cincinnati, by virtue of not being in a P5 conference, is capped in its ability to impress the committee. The only teams that can really do what the committee wants them to do are teams in P5 leagues, Notre Dame and BYU. That's it. And last year, BYU really wasn't one of those teams because they couldn't schedule any P5s. All of them dropped off the schedule due to COVID. This year, with all those P5s on the slate and winning, all but one of those games so far, committee says that's what we want to see, and BYU fits the bill. So that's where BYU is. And that's why going to the Big 12 is going to be so great. And that's why next year's schedule is so great. And that's why you're 15 this year, which is great. You're doing what the committee wants you to do. And there aren't too many teams, guys. Think about this for a second. There aren't too many teams that can essentially guarantee they're going to go a 6-week span without losing a game. Okay, but that's basically BYU's situation, right? After losing to Baylor, they beat Washington State. They beat Virginia. They'll beat Idaho State. They'll take a bye, which is another week. You're not taking a loss there. You'll go on the road to Georgia Southern. Clearly, we're presuming you have to win out, right? But you win that game as well, which you have to do. And that takes you to the Coliseum. Well, that's a 6-week span of time from losing to Baylor to playing in Los Angeles where you did not lose a game. And while you're in that situation, a lot of other teams are losing games, 1 and maybe 2 or more games. So the Cougars are in as good a spot as they could possibly hope to be with 2 losses. Yes, you're ticketed for Shreveport, and it's a big but so far the Cougs have done their part, right? They've won their last 2 P5 games. They'll probably win their next 2 games, and it'll all set up to Los Angeles on that Thanksgiving weekend to see where the college football landscape lies at that point. But that's all you could hope for. If you've lost 2 games and you're not playing in a P5 league, to be in the spot BYU's in, it's like a best case scenario with 2 losses.
Yeah, definitely is a blessing. And when I saw the rankings come out, I kind of jumped a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think we may have a chance at New Year's 6. So do you see an opportunity for BYU to, get an at-large bid?
It's been discussed. It'll be discussed. It'll be parsed ad nauseum over the weeks to come. There are limitations to where BYU can go. The way the CFP is set up and the bowl system is set up, there are so few at-large opportunities available, and a lot of it depends on which contracted conferences stick teams in the CFP. Which leagues are getting a second team in because of the runner-up or the fallback status. So a lot of that's to be determined. So you're probably looking with probably as few as 2 or 3 true at-large spots available. But all you can do is keep yourself with the 2 in the L column and hope it stacks up favorably to other 2-loss teams in late November. Again, everything right now, the objective beyond Idaho State and beyond Georgia Southern is to be 10-2 here at the end of November. That's all you can do. Anything other than that, you're not going to have any kind of a shot. That's a clear thing. Even at 2 losses, it's an outside shot. But when you're 15 in the first ranking and you're probably not going to lose another game for a month, if that, you may not, that's again, it's the best you can hope for. And that's I think as important as anything is you're part of the conversation again. you're in the mix, you're in the discussion, you're in the teens, you're being talked about. In fact, a lot of people are saying, wow, this morning, if you read some national press this morning, so whoa, 15 for BYU, kind of didn't see that coming. But then you break it down and you realize, well, why they are where they are. They have, as many good wins as many other of the best teams in the country right now.
Greg, you and I have been, and many other BYU fans, basically every other BYU fan is now looking at that Boise State loss and thinking, oh, man, is that going to be the one that really bites BYU? But then I look at where the committee placed Baylor, number 12. And I thought, okay, so if BYU had beaten Boise State but lost to Baylor, would the committee have gone head-to-head and put BYU at number 13, thus making that loss really only worth 2 spots, which is surprising?
A couple spots.
Yes. Is that how you're seeing that?
It's pretty logical, right, to think about. I think if you were looking at BYU and Baylor and the committee had to head-to-head them and say, well, Baylor won by a couple scores, we'll keep them ahead of BYU. You could see that. And so you could argue that BYU's cap or its ceiling is 13 right now. But, by the same token, maybe a one-loss BYU team is even given greater consideration than we think. But I think it's a logical presumption that, if BYU and Baylor are on the same spot, they'd give the nod to Baylor. Both were one-loss teams, and both would be one-loss teams if you're taking that Boise game out of the mix. The frustrating thing about the Boise game is how much of an outlier it was, right? BYU is one of the best ball security teams in all of college football. They don't turn the ball over, right? In their last 19 games, they're giveaway free in 11 of them. I mean, very few teams can take that long of a stretch and say you're not turning it over in more than half of your games. Turnovers are a common thing in football. And to be turnover or giveaway free in 11 of 19 games is a remarkable stretch. 6 of 9 games this year, giveaway free. So you have a team that almost never gives it up, and you have 4 turnovers in that one game. That one game,
Bonkers.
Such an extreme outlier for BYU, and it burned BYU. It's the only reason BYU lost that game. Let's recall they were more than 2 yards per play better than Boise State that day. If they just don't give them a couple of short fields, BYU wins that game. That's the tough thing about it, is that's not who BYU has been in any other game, essentially.
Greg, so we talk about BYU doing what they can do and control what they can control. So I kind of want to talk about style points, because we're all assuming that BYU, will take care of, the next couple of wins. I personally think that BYU, to have a chance and to get in that conversation, needs to score 1 million points. Do you think style points and scoring up or putting points on the scoreboard will help BYU make its case?
Well, style points absolutely matter. Just look at Cincinnati. The committee brought up the fact that, Cincy's winning, but they played a couple teams we don't really like a lot, and they didn't really beat them, well enough. They struggled against a freshman quarterback. They're using all these reasons to show that, we want to see you be great if you think you're a great team. And so there are a couple factors in play, especially as it relates to the FCS game to start off with, right? Everyone expects BYU to win and win big. But Kalani Sitake is not out to embarrass anybody at any time. All right. So I think there's probably going to be a cap on where things go, but football is football. And if you even, ramp it down once you've got a comfortable lead and all you do is run the ball, but you run it well enough with your guys to keep progressing forward, that's life. That's football. And all you can expect BYU to do is be efficient with its possessions. If you're getting, 10 to 13 possessions in a game, you better score on 9 or 10 of them, right? And keep the turnover number down. And even if it means, okay, we're going to run the ball a lot, you should be good enough to run the ball well enough to keep gaining yards and keep getting points. Now, I don't see BYU putting on, garbage time touchdowns in the fourth quarter under 5 minutes to go. But before that point, BYU's got to be an efficient, very efficient team. And, I think a shutout is a reasonable goal for BYU to have defensively. This is an FCS team averaging about 13 points a game. All right, you're one of the better FBS teams in the country. I think a score should be the cap of the expectation. Generally speaking, over BYU's FCS history, their opponents get about 1 score a game. They're averaging about 8 points a game against BYU all time. So you want to keep that number down, be really efficient with your possessions, and put up a number that looks like, that's a top 15 team beating an FCS team they're supposed to beat. Then you take a week off, you rest up, you get well, go to Georgia Southern. The whole Clay Helton thing is an interesting part of the scenario there. but it's a very lowly ranked and lowly rated Georgia Southern team. You've got to not just win, you've got to look good doing it. And then you just kind of throw it to the Coliseum and see where it goes. And again, everything's contingent on winning out. And yeah, I mean, even at the last week of the season, guys, I think style points will come into play. BYU's got to be great over the next month of football.
Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars, is with us live from Portland. And before we ask you some soccer questions, Greg, I do want to get your beat on what this senior day for BYU football will feel like, because there are very few seniors. The COVID scenario has allowed the door to stay open for so many guys to come back again and have extra years. So what do you anticipate this senior day will be like for BYU football?
Well, it's a little strange, Spence, in that we really don't know the list yet.
Yeah.
I think we'll have one by Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, but you're going to see some guys probably who, we consider sophomores, COVID sophomores with red shirts in their past, who are considering themselves to be maybe taking one last ride. So, there could be some surprises, whoa, I didn't know he was ready to go, or I didn't know he'd had that many years. But when you think about it, there are a lot of guys out there, or a few guys out there, who could have had a redshirt year, a freshman year, a COVID year, and are now playing their essentially fourth year. And so in their minds, that's their career. That's their 4 years. And so you could see some of those types. You could see some guys in the future being honored a second or maybe a third time on this day. It's a very strange senior day in that way. We only know of 2 or 3 guys who are truly going to be exhausting all their eligibility at the end of this season. A lot of other guys are looking at their future and saying, might this be it for me? If so, I don't want to miss this day. And so we could see a few of those guys that don't want to miss the day that could be back for more days like this in the future.
I heard that everybody was getting a COVID year, so I get my eligibility back as well. So I'm going to apply for that soon. Moving to soccer. So Greg, I have an uncle and aunt that lives in Portland, and I'm trying to convince them to go to the matchup and root for my team. What would you say to them to get them to come out and encourage the fans in that area to come out and support?
Well, if history is any indication, BYU fans will see a win, because BYU's never lost to Portland since the Cougars joined the West Coast Conference. It's been a good field for BYU, and Portland's been a historically great program, but over the last decade, it's kind of been their dip. But they're on their way back up right now and playing some really good soccer. Look no farther than the fact that they beat Santa Clara 2-0 on their home field a week and a half ago. That same Santa Clara team that turned around and beat BYU and kind of put a real dent in BYU's outright title hopes on the weekend. So that's all you need to know about Portland. But BYU has run this series since the Cougars joined the league. Again, 10-0 against the Pilots since BYU joined the WCC. Now, that said, BYU's been a different team away from home this year. Okay, at home, they're 9-1, and they average 4.8 goals per game. On the road, losing record, 2-3-1, and they're averaging 1.7 goals per game. So more than 3 goals per game fewer on the road than at home, and a losing record. BYU's got a lot to prove tonight. This is a big week. BYU's 6-1 in the WCC, atop the league with Santa Clara. If Santa Clara wins out, BYU's got to win out to get a share of the conference championship. BYU knows if they win their 2 games this week, tonight at Portland, and then Saturday home to Pepperdine, they will be WCC champions again, no worse than a share of the conference crown. As for their chances to be a seed, I think that really took a blow Saturday at Santa Clara. There are only 16 seeded teams in the NCAA tournament, and BYU's RPI isn't in that vicinity right now. They've got some work to do that way, RPI-wise. Pepperdine would be a big win and a nice RPI boost on the weekend. But I think right now you're looking to hopefully host the opening weekend and see where things go from there. But winning out this week is essential to securing another conference crown.
Hey, there's your context, Brian. Get your family to the game. Greg, it's great to talk with you.
And if you're going to get to the game, bring a vaccination card or a negative COVID test in the last 72 hours. Portland will require some documentation for fans wanting to go to the game tonight. So if you are in the vicinity in Portland, here in Portland, and want to come to the match, keep that in mind.
10:30 Eastern, 8:30 Mountain Time, local 107.9 FM, and the BYU Cougars app. Greg Wrubell will have the call. Thanks, Greg.
You bet, guys. There will be a stream on the WCC network as well if you want to sync up and listen to the radio call as well. So whether listening or watching or both, let's go Cougs tonight. And then let's go Cougs tomorrow. Men's basketball, the doubleheader tomorrow, right? With the women as well. Is that right?
Yes, that's
tomorrow?
right. Men's and women's basketball
So
tomorrow.
women
Absolutely.
and men play basketball tomorrow. BYU's men's exhibition finale. And then, of course, we got a doubleheader on the radio as well Saturday with Idaho State football, Pepperdine soccer, big weekend. I've got a few spotting boards to get ready over the next few days. I'm looking forward to it.
It's ramping up. Greg Wrubell with us from Portland. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, guys.
He is the voice of the Cougars. As he mentioned, it is a loaded sports slate for BYU athletics this week.